Deck building and dungeon crawling. You put them together and it's like something, but I'm having trouble figuring out exactly what. Hey everybody, welcome off the show Board Game Reviews. This week we're looking at Dungeon Alliance. It's a 1 to 4 player game that combines the mechanics of a deck building game with a dungeon crawler to create a game where the players are building their alliance and try and take their alliance to dig deep into a dungeon, explore this dungeon, defeat their enemies, and whether we're playing cooperatively or competitively, our eventual goal is to score the most amount of victory points and win the game. Now the interesting thing about this game is that it combines two mechanics extremely well to form a game that is much greater than the sum of its parts. Kind of like the peanut butter and chocolate. It gets better when you combine two good things and make a great game all the way together. Now the basic idea of the game, every single player is going to have their starting deck of cards. Now the cool thing is right here, right at the beginning of the game, we're already doing something that's really unique, something very cool, and something that fits the theme of the game very, very well. Because at the start of every single game, a player is going to form their alliance of 4 heroes. Every single hero comes with their own special combat abilities, their own special cards, and you're going to take all the cards based on your complete alliance of heroes to build your starting deck of hands. You can use this deck of hands to explore this dungeon, defeat the enemies, and whether you happen to play with PvP on, player versus player, or turn off and decide to make it a competitive game or a cooperative game, you can also add in other things such as different quests. You can go ahead and make a final bad guy that you need to defeat, or you can even play a grand adventure where you can play this grand adventure that's going to basically tell your storyline. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because how do you play the game of Dungeon Alliance? Well, like I said, in the game of Dungeon Alliance, you're going to take your alliance of heroes. That's going to give you a set of cards. You're going to use these abilities to explore this dungeon. Now, this game is all about the card mechanics, the card play mechanics, and exploring this dungeon to improve your deck, to improve your heroes, and get more powerful as you travel throughout this dungeon, going from the level 1 cards to level 2 cards, and eventually to level 3 cards, which actually starts including artifacts. But the dungeon itself is going to evolve as you play, because as you explore this dungeon, the enemies you face are going to get tougher, the encounters you're going to explore and encounter and get tougher, and you may start encountering treasure chests or traps or different things as you explore the game. On a player's turn, they're simply going to pick one of the heroes that they're going to activate. Whichever hero they decide to activate, they're simply going to remove their token to signify that they've activated that hero, and that hero cannot activate anymore this turn, because every hero can only activate once per turn. Now there are a couple cards that do break that rule, but the general rule of the game is once you've activated a hero, they're pretty much done for the round. Once you decide which hero you're going to activate, you're going to play cards based on the abilities that that hero can play. Because every single hero represents a race and every single hero represents a class, and they can only play abilities, cards, known as abilities, that affect or match that race and their class. So for example, Crom, who happens to be an orc here, he can play cards that only an orc can play. So for example, he can play this card right here, but he can't play elf cards. And again, Crom is also more of a fighter rogue. So he can play fighter and rogue cards, but he can't play caster cards because those aren't cards that are available to him. But again, he does have his starting hand of cards, which do come with some very cool tricks and powers that are specifically unique to that hero himself. No other hero can play a specific hero's cards. So let's say on my turn, I'm going to go ahead and decide that I'm going to activate Mysterios. And the first thing I'm going to do with Mysterios is I'm going to look at my hand of cards, find any cards that Mysterios can activate, and then I'm going to take some actions based on the card play that I have. So let's say, just for the sake of argument, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play a card called Flaming Weapon. What Flaming Weapon does, it allows me to play it on any hero, and if I play it on the hero now gains a bonus to his attack. So if I play that card on Crom, now Crom goes from doing 3 points of damage when he attacks to 5 points of damage. But wait, there's going to be a combo that's going to pop out of this, so you can see just exactly how the combos of the game are going to play. Then I'm going to decide to activate Mysterios, so I'm going to decide to move them based on the current speed value I have. I can move a certain amount of spaces. And then I'm going to cast a spell. I'm going to cast Fire Blast on this room right here. Now Fire Blast lets me do some damage to monsters in the room, and in this case it's actually going to allow me to do quite a bit of damage to some of the monsters in this room, because not getting too much in the rules, Fire Blast allows me to ignore the defense of the targets. So I'll go ahead and Fire Blast the Centaur, or the Satyr, and then I'm going to go ahead and take out these 2 spiders, because that's what that cool, powerful ability allows me to do. I'm going to go ahead and gain experience. Basically, I'm going to gain 4 points of experience for defeating these enemies, and as I continue to gain experience, I'm going to start working towards unlocking the more powerful decks of cards. Once these piles of experience tokens have been completely depleted, we're going to move on to the next deck of cards, and we're going to go from level 1 cards to level 2 cards and level 3 artifact cards, and that's how we're going to unlock those more powerful cards. But these experience points are more than just experience allows me to buy cards, they're also my victory points. As I spend these experience points, I'm going to turn them face down, and while they may be worth victory points in the game, I can't use them anymore to purchase cards, and that's the next thing I can do on my turn. After I've defeated any enemies or done any actions with my heroes, I can use my experience points to go ahead and purchase one card from the row over here, and basically I just need to purchase a card that my hero can use. And it doesn't have to even be the active hero that you're playing right now. It just has to be a card that your current party of heroes, one of them has to be able to use. So I can go ahead and spend 2 experience points to go ahead and purchase these Boots of Speed. These Boots of Speed are going to go into my hand, and that's the cool thing about this game. When you buy cards, again, the deck building, instead of going into your discard pile, they're going to go immediately into your hand, which is a cool thing. You can go ahead and replace that card, and the next player in turn order gets to go. And every one of these heroes, like I said, get their own special abilities. For example, this player over here has a player of Root who's more of a druid, who has the special abilities of healing and stuff like that, or they also have this dwarf over here who has the special abilities of doing buffs, or they can do various things such as special attacks, or interact with the board in a special way. Every one of these heroes brings something special to the table that's very unique to the hero, which is to make your specific alliance of heroes work differently, play differently, and again, you're going to work on the strengths and those weaknesses of every heroes. Now let's say we want to go ahead and do some more exploring on our turn, because it comes back to our turn and it's now turn to activate. We're going to have a full hand of cards based on drawing cards or whatever cards we may have purchased. And let's say my turn comes back around again, and I want to activate Crom and see what kind of cool things I want to do with Crom. So the first thing I'm going to do with Crom is I'm going to play his hide card, which allows him to do some really cool things. Again, working towards those combinations. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Boots of Speed, which are going to give me some extra movement, because I'm going to need to move forward to do what I need to do. And I'm simply going to move to this space right here. I'm going to open this door, which allows me to open up the door to this ogre right here who happens to be in this room. I'm going to put up this archway to signify that I've opened this door, and there may or may not be a trap here. We don't know. We'll go ahead and figure out what's going to happen there. But we're going to move into this room, and then I'm going to play some actions. Of course, once we figure out what this challenge is. Oh, it's a locked chest. Very, very cool. I don't have to worry about any traps. And then I can look at all the combinations I have. Well, I see that I have the assassinate power, and it says that anytime I am hidden, I'm currently hidden, I can do +3 damage, but we see that I also have a flaming weapon. Plus we also see that I have some other special abilities, meaning that I can probably take out this ogre right here, gain some more experience, and again start upgrading my decks, upgrading my abilities, and upgrading my heroes to become a much more powerful Dungeon Alliance. Now, the game of Dungeon Alliance is an extremely organic game. It generally plays from 1 to 4 players, but there's multiple different modes of way you can play this game. There's different ways to play this game to add additional challenges, different ways to modify the gameplay. You can even play this game as a full campaign game or as a solo game, thanks to the fact that there is actually a full solo AI deck involved with the game. And the solo AI deck is going to allow you to play this game 100% solo versus a dungeon, and the enemies are going to interact, and they're going to do some various different actions based on the drawing of a card. You're going to interact with the dungeon, work on taking things out, or you can even just play a basic game like that where you're just trying to get the highest score, or you can start leveling things up even more by adding in quest tokens. These quest tokens add additional challenges, different ways you're going to play the game, and they're also going to make a final boss for the game, which can add to even more fun. Or if you just want to go for the gusto, you can play cooperatively, competitively, or however you want to play, solo or anything you want to play, in this grand quest to go ahead and defeat the Titan. Again, adding to the tremendous amount of replay and the ability to play this game multiple different ways that cater to your playgroup style gameplay. The game of Dungeon Alliance offers a wonderful amount of ways to play this game. You have a wonderful different variety, different experience every time you play this game through an evolving dungeon that will evolve differently every time you play this game, a different alliance of heroes which is going to play differently every time you play this game, the fact that you can play this game solo, or you can play this game competitively, or as a full cooperative game, whether it's playing cooperatively versus a grand final boss, or whether it's just versus the quest of the game, or if you just want to play a grand storyline such as the Alliance that comes out with all these different adventure packs. There are so many different ways to play this game that offers tons and tons of variety and replay. Thanks to the way the upgrades are going to come out, the fact that you can upgrade your heroes, the fact that this feels like an evolving dungeon exploring style game, combining the mechanics of a traditional dungeon crawler with a deck building game to create a wonderful gaming experience. Now, if you want to learn how to play Dungeon Alliance, you can check out my full tutorial video where I'll explain to you how to play the game itself. Or if you just want to see some sample gameplay, check out my sample gameplay video. Or you just bypass all those things and go ahead and see my full review of Dungeon Alliance, the game itself. Now, if you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave them down in the YouTube comments down below. I'll definitely get to them as quickly as I can. You can also feel free to email me at off-the-shelf-board-game-reviews. That's otsbgr@gmail.com. Be sure to answer your email as quickly as I can. If you enjoy this channel, if you enjoy the content, think about supporting the channel over on Patreon. Just $1 over in the tip jar can help me cover my costs and help keep this channel growing strong and keep on bringing out new content for you all the time. If you enjoy this video, if you enjoy this video series, click that like button, click that subscribe button, and as always, thanks for watching.